Basketball Talk Pro. I hope you're watching these NBA playoff games. When you get into this area of the playoffs, you're down to just a few teams. You're getting closer and closer to that ring. The intensity and the effort is incredible. You're watching basketball at its very best. It's remarkable. During the season, they may contest shots, but during the playoffs, they really contest shots. That's why percentages go down and offense has to struggle more. It's tough. They have the opportunity. The NCAA tournament's tough, but they only play a team once. But you look at Boston and Washington right now, they're going into game 6. You know everything about that other team. And the same thing with the West. It's very, very, very intense play. Everybody's playing at their best. They play hurt, they play sick, they play through everything at this time of the year. Well, today I want to talk to you about something, I entitled it, A Coach's Forgotten Tool, and I think it is forgotten as a coach's tool. It certainly isn't forgotten in our daily life and in any type of endeavor, and coaching is simply that, and it's organization. But we talk a lot about organization, but we don't always do it. And a lot of times that's because the coaches, and using just coaches, don't really know how to do it. And there isn't any real set procedure of organization, but there are certain principles that can help you to keep your basketball work, your practices, your games in a sense of organization. And here's what organization does for you. It simplifies things. It takes away the things you don't need. It focuses on just the things that are important if you're doing it correctly. But you also have to understand you have to have a plan. Now, last session I showed you a warm-up drill, a warm-up drill. Well, that's all kind of part of what I see, what I want to show you in organization. As I mentioned to you, I spent some time with a Dr. Councilman that was an expert in these areas. Warm-up you can do in 10 minutes. You can be warmed up, ready to play in a game. And so we've condensed it to that, 10 minutes. But we also included basketball work, shooting, not just out there warming up. I see these dances up and down and everything, that's nice, but they're not doing anything that's really helpful. If we're warming up for stretching, and we do the same thing with stretching, 10 minutes, that's it. No talking, coaches don't talk, no one talks, the trainer or the guy directing the stretching, but we do the same stretches every day. So it requires complete silence. That's all it does. And then we go to a defensive slide drills, 2 of them, and we alternate them just like the shooting drill. We do that every day, though. Every day. We start practice with 5 minutes of, and today I'm really dealing only with practices, but as we go, every part of your daily work, your work as a coach, requires organization. But organizing your practice is probably the most single one thing that you do as a coach to make yourself more effective. We start with 5 minutes. A lot of times I don't use the whole 5 minutes. Sometimes I go over. But we want to get the team together. We want to start to get them in a practice mode. Some days I tell stories, motivating stories, inspirational stories. Sometimes it's just a matter of reviewing certain things. Sometimes I have to give them announcements. But they know every day they're going to get it. And then we break it down to 10 minutes of shooting, 10 minutes of stretching, 10 minutes of defensive slide drill. But the defensive slide drill can be run easily in 5 minutes if you do it every day. So that part of our practice is set. We never vary that. I do it no matter what the situation is. We're on the road or we're at home. If we're having a shoot around and we play that night, I still use it. The team gets to know it. It gets very comfortable for them. And as I said last time, it puts the players in a practice mode. When we finish that defensive slide drill and start going into a real regular practice, the players are ready. That 10 minutes of quiet, by the way, it's a little tricky to discipline players to it. But once they do, actually they like it. It's 5 minutes of solitude. They're stretching, but they're really stretching. Most of the stretching I see, they're going at it halfway. Talking, telling stories, take that away from them. Make their mind focus on what they're doing. Quiet their mind. And you'll see a much better practice. And as I mentioned last time, it's a form of discipline. We are disciplining our players to doing certain things that we want them to do. And there are certain regulations with that. They get used to it. We do it all year long. And that's part of organizing. Now you have put a part of your practice together in a way that prepares them for the rest of practice. Incidentally, we go from our defensive slide drill into a block of defensive work. Then we go into a block of offensive work along with teamwork. And we have about 30, 31 drills, 35 drills maybe in our book of drills. And that's where the only drills we use. And so they get very used to the drills. It makes them more comfortable. I see how it goes. I've done it so much. But when you show them, say, a lot of you have been with me for a long time, a screen away drill, say, for example. We run that a lot. We run it to the point that they can do it automatically. And then that's where we try to get them to a point where they don't have to think. But you can't do that, showing it one drill and then showing another drill. It's like, with the internet, it irritates me. They are constantly changing the operation of it. And so, it takes me 2 or 3 weeks just to learn how the new system is working. And then 6, 7 months they change it again, and you got to go through that learning again. In our practices, our players get used to those drills, and you're right. At first, they're thinking. That's the phase. Then the second phase is the board. Yeah, we're going to run this again. That's fine. That's what you get paid for as a coach. You know, you have to do something as a coach. So you get them through that. But then they have that third phase, that third phase at the end. That now they begin to look forward to it. Because you see, they're doing it so well, doing it so automatically, that it becomes fun. They feel good doing it. They have integrated it into their thinking system. And now the boredom's gone, everything is fine. Players are running it, and they run it in a game. I mean, they execute it in a game. All those things that we've taught them, defensively and offensively. So, you know, I think there's another advantage to blocking off that first part. The meeting, the shooting, stretching, quietness, the defensive system. You avoid having to think through a lot of practice planning. Some of you don't practice planning, so I'm guessing about 80% of you don't. Because what I've seen, you know, I go around and I watch coaches. But you should. But even if you don't, you think you can do it in your mind. What I find with that is you have a plan in your mind, but it's easy to go away from it and forget things. So I think it's better to have them have everything written out. But it keeps you from doing a lot of thinking. I gave you a story early, not early, maybe a year ago, something like that. This story, and I'll tell it to you. It's a story about the president of U.S. Steel back in the days where it was a dominating the whole industry. And but he wasn't satisfied with how things were working within the company, huge company. And so he just felt it wasn't quite where it should be. So he called this guy in who had a little reputation, and he talked to the guy about it. What do you say? And he said, well, I'll tell you what I'd like to propose. Let me talk to your top executive people for 15 minutes each, singular. And I will tell them what I want them to do. And let's go 2 months. And if it hasn't improved, you don't owe me anything. If it has improved, you pay me whatever you think it's worth to you. Well, here's what he did. He spoke to each one of those executives, and he said, here's what I want you to do for the next 2 months. At the end of every day, I want you to write down 5 things that you want to do next day in writing, not thinking, but put it on paper and put it in order of importance. And you just leave it on your desk. What he got them to do was plan before they got there. And so when they came in the morning, they had their first thing right there. They knew what they could think about it while they were at home. They knew exactly what they were going to do right away. They get in at 8 o'clock, and there it is. That's very similar to what we just explained to you. The prayers come to practice not wondering what they're going to do. They know what's going to happen. They know I'm going to talk to them for 5 minutes. They may wonder what you're going to talk about today, And if some of them have done some things that they're not too proud of, they may be worried that I'm going to bring it up. And then they know that shooting drill. I don't even have to talk to them. I just tell them, you know, which drill it is, and they go, they run the drill themselves, pretty much. But I'm always there, and I am always involved, and they know it. And if you do what a lot of coaches do, go off to the side, get your assistant over, and you're sitting over there BS and talking about all kinds of things, and they're out there working, you will lose the players. But I don't ever let them, I don't do that. They know I'm right there with them. I'm as involved as they are. I just don't shoot. A lot of times they pass. And it just depends on the situation. And then they know I don't have to say much. They put the balls away. I've shown them they have to put it on the rack. They just can't roll it or throw it to somebody. They got to walk it over themselves. Then they go right and sit down and get started with stretching. The minute stretching's over, I tell them what drill, you know, we alternate to, and they go right into it, and they know, they're comfortable with that. And they're also disciplining themselves. So I'm going to hit on different aspects of organization. Here's why. We talk about it, but I don't see it in clinics. I don't go to clinics anymore, but when I did go, I never had a guy, as you know, one of those big time guys, get up and talk to you about organization. They may be well organized themselves, but they don't talk about it. I don't see it in books. I don't see it in videos or anything. So I wanted to lay this out for you. Well, that's it for today. I hope you watch the games. I hope you enjoy the games, not just watch them. And we'll see you next time.